Okay. So this happened a couple of years ago. I was an undergrad in college, and I was studying journalism. And this was the last class. This was the last class in my in the semester. And it was a history of journalism class. Okay, and we were tasked with for a final project for the class, we were tasked up with doing these kind of do these like final projects, these PowerPoints about famous journalists in history. Because I was in a journalism class, history of journalism class, and so some people had like Neil Sheehan, or I had Randy Schiltz. He was a reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle who was really well known for reporting on the AIDS crisis in his area during the 80s. And we had to do this in groups, like group projects. Okay, so it was like me and a couple of other people were working on this one journalist and trying to do a whole PowerPoint presentation on it. There was another group. There was two. There was a group of people doing one on Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was an African American journalist who was really well known for reporting on the Deep South, specifically for lynchings, documenting lynchings and segregation in the South during the early 1900s. Anywho, so there were two people that were working on Ida B. Wells. Let's call them Adam. Let's call them Adam and Elizabeth, okay? So Adam was just a creep, like a senseless kind of weirdo creep. He was like a Republican. And in my school, he was like the lone. It was a liberal arts school, and so he was like one of like two Republicans on campus, and he was very and so he was very kind of isolated, and he would, oh man, damn it, here we go again. And he was just a weirdo, creepy dude. Like he would be mansplaining and like making inappropriate jokes and all this stuff. And he was partnered up with Elizabeth. Elizabeth was an anthropology student who just minding her own business, and she wanted to get this work done. Anyways, so it's the last day of class. We've all done our projects, okay? Last day of class, we've all done our projects, and so it's presentation time. And so each group, they do their presentation. The first one that went up, it was like this girl who, I forget the journalist's name, but the PowerPoint presentation, he worked for the Washington Post, and it just so happened that this person was a Mormon. And the girl who was presenting this presentation, she was very hardcore religious. Like, she was a Jesus freak. And so her entire presentation, this is the first presentation of the class, her entire presentation was talking about how this person was a Mormon. She went like freaking 10 or 15 minutes not talking about this journalist's work, but about what Mormonism was and stuff. And I should point out that we were doing these presentations in a large lecture room, like a huge lecture room, and we were like 17 students, I suppose. And so the screen projection was huge, okay? And so my professor just kind of like politely, like, just kind of come on, can we end this now? Like, thank you so much, you know. That was the first presentation. And so you know, more student presentations come. We did ours. It was okay. And then the very last presentation was the presentation that Adam and Elizabeth worked on, the IDB Wells one. Okay, so last day of class, last presentation, it was Adam and Elizabeth's school presentation. Okay, so they do IDB Wells. Okay, and Adam is a bit weird. He's making this presentation and he just goes on he tries to be funny, and the humor is so insensitive. It's crazy. So like for instance, like he talks about like he talks about lynchings like this. And so IDB Wells like did reportings on lynchings in the South. So like, what are lynchings? Well, lynchings were like kind of like this thing that like, you know, Southern people would do, where they would kill African Americans, and sometimes like, you know, they would like make postcards of this stuff. And so like, you know, like it would be like, hey Bob, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, you know, just killing an African American and you know, hanging them on a tree and stuff. And they'd be like, oh wow, gee whiz, wow. And it was like that. It was like that. He would make those jokes in front of like the entire like class, and I was just kind of like, ugh. But there came a point in the presentation where he clicked on the slide, and no joke, or again, huge lecture room, no joke, huge lecture room, huge projection. He found these postcards of lynched African Americans. Horrific, no censor, nothing. And like the entire class just dropped their jaw. And what made it worse was that Adam was still fucking joking about it. And so I'm sitting at the front of this lecture room and I'm looking behind like, just to see like what everyone's reaction is, and like everyone's jaw is dropped on the floor, and Elizabeth is there like, and she's just like, and everyone's like disgusted, and like the professor is like, okay, come on, let's okay, we know about lynchings, okay, let's go to the next part. And so Elizabeth like clicks on the presentation, you know, on the computer, because you know they're together doing this presentation, and it goes to like a bunch of text, and then Adam says, just as when they got to like the part where there's no lynching photos anymore, Adam says, no, we ain't done yet, goes back to the photos and continues doing that. And I am just like, there comes a point where like there comes a point in being offended where like I am so offended that like I'm actually more impressed that I'm offended rather than like, you know, feeling the horror. So it's like, you know, oh wow, that's offensive, you know. So that happens. And the professor is like, okay, quit it. The presentation is done. We're all like shocked. Later on, next semester, oh my god, next semester, I see Elizabeth again, and we actually become friends of this incident. And I asked her a little more about Adam and how it was like working with him. She was like, he kept hating on me every time we worked on the project, and like I did not see those lynching photos at all. And so Like, this kid was absolutely fucking, his self-awareness. I'm impressed by how so not aware that kid was. So not aware. I was impressed. And lo and behold, that next semester I was in a class with him. Yeah, I was in a class with him, an American history class on foreign relations, and he would do even more offensive stuff on there, which I can talk about another time. And so you have to, okay, I don't think, I feel like I sped through that, but like, you gotta like, you have to envision this, okay? You're in a huge lecture room and someone's doing a PowerPoint presentation on a very important journalist, and they are making fun of people who died via lynching. Okay, in early 19, am I stuck here? In early 19, I am stuck here. In early 1900s, United States. Yeah, that's another story I can tell. But okay, you have to like visualize. You're in a huge lecture room. Okay, someone's doing a presentation on an important journalist who made a lot of like, who made a lot of important contributions to the field, and there's this kid making really insensitive jokes about it. It was like, it was incredible. And to know that this kid would go on to do more stuff, I genuinely, he wasn't like he wasn't an intrinsically evil kid. I genuinely think that he was so not self-aware. It was pretty ridiculous. And so that's the story of the most offensive Microsoft PowerPoint presentation I have ever seen. I still think about it and I still talk about it to this day. It's just so incredible. Oof.